Joshua Metzler is a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. He joins us live now from Washington. So Joshua, let me get your thoughts on this. Even though China is now taking a lead role when it comes to the Paris Climate Agreement, do you think that there really will be the same sort of accountability when you're dealing with over 190 countries? Will there be the same accountability without the US?
Certainly, having the US in the climate change agreement has been a key anchoring element of getting any serious type of outcome. There are mechanisms for accountability which rely on collective oversight and experts as well. So I think there's still a process in place which is going to hold countries accountable for reaching the types of targets that they're committing to under the agreement. But at the end of the day, it's also going to require diplomatic pressure and leadership, and that's where the US's role there is particularly important.
European leaders are saying, you know what, we're simply not going to renegotiate. That's it. If the US is pulling out, that's it. No renegotiating. Given that the US is the world's second biggest polluter, is that a smart move by European leaders, do you think?
The concept of renegotiation in the framework of the Paris Climate Agreement doesn't make a lot of sense. Essentially, what's happened under the agreement is that each country has decided on its own accord what its targets want to be. If a country wants to reduce those targets, if a country wants to be more ambitious, that's entirely up to them. It wasn't actually a process where countries came together and pushed each other towards higher targets. There was complete flexibility for Trump to change the US targets under the existing framework agreement. So it's not clear what a renegotiation would accomplish that was not already available.
So it wasn't that, you know, he could sort of approach European leaders and say, okay, let's sit down and renegotiate this. He could have said, listen, these are going to be our own targets for the next X amount of years instead of what's in the agreement.
That's right. It's a completely flexible agreement. It's essentially better understood as a framework where all countries came together and committed to doing particular actions. It is absolutely the case that if you sum those actions up, they were not enough to get to what collectively the world has said should be the 2050 target, which is to keep temperature increases below 2 degrees. But there's a mechanism where every 5 years countries sit down again, they renegotiate, they take stock of the science, they see where their targets are and they try to do more. The United States is not going to be part of that process now that they're going to withdraw from the agreement.
So in terms of European leaders and Chinese leaders having some hope here on out, is the hope that perhaps if President Trump is a one term or if he gets 2 terms, that in 4 years or 8 years from now, another American leader will come in and say, you know what, we're going to go back in?
I think it's important to think about this both in terms of what this means for the Paris Agreement and the international effort and that process, and also what it really means for the US climate targets. In many respects, withdrawal from the Paris Agreement, at least over the next 4 to 5 years, should have no noticeable impact on US greenhouse gas emission reductions. These are essentially being driven now by market forces, by the fracking revolution and the substitution of coal for gas, by the incredible reduced prices of renewable energy, by improved vehicle fuel efficiency standards and the like. Certainly going out, more ambition is going to be needed, and that's where regulation is going to come in. And again, I think each country is going to have to make a decision about what they want to do, but climate change is a global problem, and ultimately any one country can't solve it on their own, and that was the whole purpose of creating an international framework for trying to get to a particular goal. And in that respect, I think the world is certainly going to hope that at some point that whether it's this administration or a new administration, that they come back to the international table.
Yeah, because greenhouse gases, global emissions certainly know no national borders. All right, Joshua Metzler, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Pleasure. Thanks.